everyone again, and thanks for the organizer to inviting me to talk about my creative practice and especially about my audio play Solitude. So I would like to say a little bit about myself. I'm a writer, director and performer working across theatre, music and experimental audio drama. I have no visuals, as you can see, because I make audio. If you want to take something visual and tactile, there are some cards which you can take with you later. I'm originally from Germany, where I studied theatre history and modern literature, and started also working in theatre. I am living and working in Newcastle since 2001 as a freelance artist and producer. In my creative practice, I often combine improvisation techniques with literature, music and sound. I have been teaching improvisation in various forms for over 30 years now, so it's a big part of my work. And the main focus of my work is currently in writing and producing experimental audio, drama and radio art, which often explores historical, philosophical, religious and political themes. What do I mean when I speak of radio art? In short form, I could talk very long about that. It means it's radio or audio made by artists. It is neither entertainment, information or documentary, nor is it literature or theatre distributed via the means of radio. It is an art form in its own right, using sound, music and text to create radiophonic art. So, today I would like to speak about the making of my audio play Solitude. Solitude is a 40-minute audio collage delving into a range of themes all connected to the topic of solitude. You could also call it an artistic audio essay, exploring how political, social and religious structures and spiritual and philosophical values shape past and present social communities. How do we conduct our individual lives? How much importance do we give to communal and public institutions? What are the values that inform interactions between an individual and the community? So my ongoing interest in social issues like loneliness, isolation and migration instigated my interest in looking closer at the concept of solitude. It was also inspired by a visit to the Church of St. Mary and St. Cuthbert's in Chesterley Street in County Durham. And this church holds one of the last fully restored anchorite cells in the UK. The Anchor's House Museum shows the former residence of an anchorite, or anchorites, who lived there between the 14th up to the 16th century. Although I heard and knew about hermitages and various spiritual contemplative practices before, the concept of an anchorite cell at that point was something really new to me. While a hermit retreats into the countryside, far away from civilization, anchorites choose to stay in the center of the community to engage in their contemplative praxis, physically sealed into a cell that was attached to the church building for the rest of their lives, preparing their own death and dedicating their life to intense prayer and asceticism. Only a little window connected them to the outside, and a small slit opening allowed them to look at the altar inside the church. One dedicated person brought food to the cell and took out the rubbish. So this act of self-imposed solitude really aroused my interest because of its very different social aspect, compared to a hermit's life or life in a remote monastery. Although the anchorite withdraws himself completely from the world, he or she physically remains in the center of the village, conducting their prayers to the well-being of everybody around them, and sometimes providing counseling to visitors who come and wait at the little window to get some advice from these spiritual advanced contemplatives. So you could say the solitary life choice of one person is an exercise of duty to the rest of the community. This extreme form of self-inflicted solitude made me start to think differently about the concept of solitude. And I began to understand the controversial and sometimes paradoxical dimension of a solitary life a bit better. Comparing this form of spiritual contemplation with the increasing problem of loneliness and isolation in our today's society, I realized that there are negative and positive forms of solitude, and that we are all confronted with both aspects throughout our lives.